Dynamite podcast is here, and Bellator 298 is just weeks away while they focus on Bellator Rising 2 in Japan this weekend. A quick turnaround, just a couple weeks from now, we will have Bellator 298 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and usually he's on the comfort of his couch like he is today, so it doesn't really show. But since I plan to be there on fight week, we will get it on camera. He is without a doubt the tallest fighter I will ever interview, the one and only tall Steve Mowry. Steve, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Let's hope Steph Struve doesn't come out of retirement.
Or ever talk to me for that matter. With that being said, man, I'm super excited for you. I know, not only excited because I've had an opportunity to talk to you so often, but I know just how bad the itch is to get back in there and just kind of right the damn ship, right? You had the draw, you had the no contest. Like, how excited are you finally to now run it back with Valentin Moldavsky at Bellator 298?
I mean, you kind of said it best there. I'm just really looking forward to the opportunity to getting in there and figuring it out. It's been a long time, been a year since the first no contest. And, I try not to look back too much. What happened, I don't really remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. So why should I care what happened a year ago? But, I still can't help it but feel like, we need to get to the bottom of that one.
Yeah, and I think obviously huge for the division. I think we know what's next with Ryan Bader and Leighton Vassell here at the top of the division. But I mean, a month ago when Bellator 297 was here in Chicago, Valentin Moldavsky said a move up to heavyweight it might be next for him. And Scott Coker seemed okay with that. As someone who sits 3 in the division, I don't think I wouldn't expect you to be okay welcoming him with open arms. Like that's another opportunity that might get taken away from you, a longer wait time for you to work towards the belt.
Yeah. You're talking about Vadim Nemkov?
Yeah, Nemkov, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as long as I do everything I'm supposed to do and focus on, what I need to accomplish, Vadim Nemkov won't enter the equation. And, if I have to fight him at some point, we have to fight at some point.
Now, how has this time, like you said, it's been a year. How has this time been like for you? I know, like, you had talked about wanting to take some time and just kind of enjoy, yourself and your life and all that. But I know just how much this career means to you. I know how much where you're at means to you. What's been this downtime like for you?
It was like a weird thing. Like I'm trying to balance. Just trying to balance being more professional while also balancing, being a regular human being. And which seems kind of contradictory, but what it means for me is really finding as my body grows and gets older and changes, I can't train and do the things that I could do when I was 24, 25. What it means is just, trying to be more optimal, trying to make the most of the time that I do spend on the mat, that I do spend at the gym, and, in turn, making the most of the time I spend at home, the time I spend with my loved ones, my family.
So it's more been a calculated approach to training and moving forward as you prepare to get back in this fight?
As much as I can, but, sometimes you still got to just nasty.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for what it's worth, the last time you had something on your record outside of the no contest, when is 2021. Is that frustrating for you? Is it you're going to come in here looking to remind everyone, who Steve Mowry is? I mean, like I know how frustrating the no contest was. I know even more how frustrating the draw was. But are you looking to remind not just yourself, but Bellator and the heavyweight division, just who you are and where you are in this division?
It's more, to be honest with you, as much as I love, putting on a show for the fans and love, giving a spectacle for people to look at. Really, for me, deep down, it's always just about glorifying God, but also putting on a performance that reflects my lifestyle, how hard I work, and especially as I get older, every fight is a more intricate, a more specific puzzle, and I look forward to giving a more specific, more detailed answer and showcasing that, like you said, for everybody, but also for myself.
I can't wait for it. And, this division's weird. I'm just going to be honest, right? It's Ryan Bader, it's you, it's Moldavsky, it's Litton. And then there's a bunch of we don't know. We had Gokhan Sarikhan fight Daniel James. not to the delight of many people. We've got a lot of younger names at the bottom of the division, people looking to climb up. Where do you feel this heavyweight? And then obviously Vadim Nemkov, who I misnamed, but obviously you corrected me on that one. But obviously the possibility of him bringing, so yeah, that's another name. But like the whole bottom half of the division is looking to prove themselves, and you're right there. And if the next fight isn't for a title or a title eliminator, have you looked at the rest of the division?
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about the rest of the division is, so like I have a win over Gokhan, he's a training partner now. He's a friend. So the whole rest of the division, I feel like he's either guys that I beat or guys that I beat have beat them, and it's like, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me so much, like I said right now, because I'm not really focused on them and what they're doing. To be honest with you, I've been focused on. I feel like I've only been focused on two guys for the last year, and it's Valentin Moldavsky and the guy I fought last. But no, I don't know. Like you said, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time to be a Bellator heavyweight. It's an exciting time to try to make sense of this division. And the game's growing and changing. Everyone's not just getting older and better and whatever, but the old guard, is making its way out, as it were. So, like I said, I really feel like now is the time to be the guy to make sense of it all.
Yeah, I was gonna say we saw it in other promotions when DC and Stipe kind of held up the heavyweight division for 3 years, and now we've seen some of the very best in that promotion at heavyweight. And John Jones came back and kind of put an end to that. But I would say no matter what happens with Ryan Bader, this is a wide open division. It's got to be a very opportunistic time for you and everyone else. With that said, though, it's a very interesting time for you because we've talked about Moldavsky, we've talked about the frustration and the eye poke and the draw and all of that. But and I know when we spoke last, you wanted that rematch, like you wanted it, and it would have made sense to just run that rematch sooner rather than later. Now we're at the later half of it. What is preparation like for a guy you've been in there with?
Mm-hmm. I mean, going into the first Moldavsky fight, I was really just hyper focused on how good he was and the skill set that he brought to the table. And I didn't get to spend that much time in the octagon with him. That's the thing, and it's like one of those things I don't really feel like it's fair for me to say like I spent that much time with. I mean, a lot of action happened in a short time comparatively, but no. That said, I really don't even feel like I have a true feel for him yet. So, I really do feel like it's a totally different opportunity, totally different time, totally different circumstances. And I'm like I said, I really been working hard to like put together a performance that's going to stand out above all the other performances I put on.
You're a pretty mild-mannered guy, especially during our conversations. But is there any sort of frustration that'll come with you on fight night to like, dude, like I've been waiting for this fight, this eye poke, like, damn, I just want to reassert myself in this division?
No, not really. I mean, every fight comes with its own, whether people want to admit it or not. I think 95% of fighters going into the fight are really just thinking, "Oh my god, I hope I don't get knocked out in front of my friends." But and I mean, I don't have any problem admitting that fighting is a very scary thing, but it is ultimately a test, and it really isn't until you get into the cage that you really start to make kind of the performative part of it play out, and you get locked into a cage, the lights hit you, and that's whenever it's okay, well, we're here and it's time. So I don't know. That's if that part of it really doesn't hit until you actually get into the cage. For the rest of the time, I live it out. Like I go to the gym every day thinking about, man, what do I want to do in this fight? What do I want to accomplish? What is it that I'm trying to prove? And like I said, I really feel like I've done everything that there is to do. And especially now as the preparation time is winding down and the time to perform is coming up, I really feel like we're going to see a lot of fruit of my labor.
And I can't wait, especially because as it currently stands right now, I will be attending the show, and Bellator always puts on a great show. And no pressure, Steve. I'm just going to be there. So, I mean, there's no pressure at all.
Why would performance for you, Mr. Pendleton?
There is a little bit of a weird moment. I feel like I can consider you a friend, so I could ask this question. Linton Vassell, we all believe, and should be next for Ryan Bader, unless Vadim Nemkov and Bellator have other plans. But then if Linton Vassell does what you and he would expect him to do, and you do what you expect to do, I know where this question is going. Have you guys had that conversation?
Come on, stop dancing around it.
Have you guys had that conversation? Would you face him or would you wait it out?
No, I wouldn't face him. He's a good friend. He's like a big brother to me. It's like one of those things. And he really, kind of to like round out what you said, until that time, whenever I put myself in position and he's in position, where I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that he wins the title. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, he does everything he can to make sure he performs his best come fight night. But like I said, it's just not something that interests me at the moment,
Yeah, and I think that's great because other promotions we kind of just saw there in the PFL, how that kind of whirlwind thing there.
What I'm saying is I'm not getting into the cage with them. What those guys did was, well, like, hey, look, we showed up and we fought, and they both got shit canned. Like, it's like one of those things. How mad can you really be at those guys? Like, they told you they were friends, they didn't want to fight, and they showed up and they did something. Like,
I was going to ask you that because that was a big thing, and it kind of changed the PFL playoffs around. PFL made their decision. It is what it is. I talked to a couple of fighters from PFL who were like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of on the PFL. You shouldn't have booked them, but OAM said he felt like it was kind of a little bit of cheating by them, and like there was an agreement in place. As a fighter who is at the top of his division with a teammate and a friend, how do you feel about two teammates fighting each other, no matter where they're at?
Well, I feel like every case is different. I mean, I've had guys that I trained with Ali Asayev, and I was chomping at the bit to fight him, not because I thought he was a walkover or an easy win, but because I knew how good he was. And, whenever I had trained with him, he won that world title. And I'll be honest with you, there was a part of me that was burning to like, hey, like this would be an opportunity to be a world champion, an undefeated world champion. And it's, again, not that I didn't really have one feeling about him one way or the other as a person. I mean, he was a cool enough guy when I was here with him, but it really, for me, at the end of the day, was like, look, like, and then I think even after the result, it was a pretty like tepid, benign, just exchange of, like, best of luck to you in the future, whatever. Like, he seemed like a cool enough guy, and he was a cool enough guy to me after the fight. Of course, he felt some kind of way about the draw, but again, I don't hold it against him. So it's like one of those things. I feel like every fight that where two people might end up fighting each other and their teammates and their friends, I feel like every case is a little bit different, and ultimately it is up to the fighters. And so, like, what I'm saying is, first and foremost, especially about me and Linton, is that I'm not going to fight him. We'll figure something out. We'll, whatever. And I don't know what that looks like. It's, like I said, we're talking about a total hypothetical where a lot of things have to fall into place at the right time. And I mean, like you said, I'm anticipating beating Valentin Moldavsky on August 11th. But that said, like, okay, well, they don't even have Bader and Linton booked yet. So, like, what are we really talking about? And then even still, Linton has to go in, even though I'm confident he'll beat Bader, we're still talking about something that hasn't even materialized yet. And then in the future is, okay, when is the timeline of this title defense or whatever, this hypothetical pie in the sky fight between he and I going to happen? I don't know. And so really, even until we're in a position for that to happen, it's not worth addressing. But like I said, just to nip it in the bud right now, I'm not planning on fighting him. And I think he would say the same. We've talked about it a few times, and that's at least how it's indicated by him. But that said, I mean, I can understand the PFL's frustration about, they booked these two guys who were pretty outspoken and vocal about their desire not to compete against each other. And they went ahead and they booked them anyway. And they went out there and I didn't watch the fight, but I read about it. And it sounded like a snooze fest. But here's the deal. we've seen a lot of fights that were okay. So you're gonna these two guys went out. They had a boring. It was like a sloppy hug fest kind of thing. I didn't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
You have these two guys who are friends that go out. They have a practice session basically, and you're gonna get mad at them. You're gonna take them out of the playoffs. But then you have like Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis comes to mind. Everything on paper is like, yo, this fight is not going past 2 minutes, and it ended up being. I mean, still, it's historically speaking one of the most boring fights to have ever taken place. And what are you going to do? You're going to take them out of the rankings? Like, no, they had a bad night. They couldn't get a read on each other. They couldn't blast one off. Same with these two guys. Like, okay, well, look, like they showed up and they fought. And again, like, I don't know if it's PFL's division. You kind of put yourself at the mercy of whatever the promotion is. But it does kind of fill in the lines a little bit about like who they are exactly, because I mean the tournament format is meant to kind of like crash the pretense of exciting fighter. It crashes the pretense of promotions giving big opportunities to guys who create big time, whatever. So like you have a guy like Alex Pereira kind of fought his way to the top off the back of knocking people out, and that's cool. I mean, knocked out good guys. But the fact of the matter is, there was probably 2 or 3 other guys who would have been in line before him, realistically. Absolutely. But he climbed his way to the top fast. So what the tournament format does is, okay, well, the winner of those fights works themselves to the top of the bracket, and then they face in the finals. Then they're the champion of the season. So by taking these guys out of the rankings or taking them out of the playoff format because they had a bad night or they had a boring performance, it kind of eliminates the pretense of, okay, well, only the best guys do it. It's like, okay, well, are you saying that because they're boring, they're not going to fight for a title? That's kind of how it seems,
Right, exactly. Well, now I know, come fight week, I won't ask anything about you possibly in the future fighting your teammate. I will nip it in the butt here and there. So
that's what I don't want there to be. Not your fault. I just don't want there to be any confusion. And then
no, I completely get it. We've talked about how business is kind of open and booming in your division, also kind of in your promotion. If you're a guy who's reading up on the news in your sport, and there's been a lot of talks about Bellator recently about the aforementioned PFL. Would you like to see your promotion in the PFL merge?
I don't know. Like you talk about like total hypotheticals, total situations. I mean, like it could be a good thing. It could also mean that their roster gets doubled out and guys don't fight for long extended periods of time. I really feel like if that were to happen, I'd look for it. So on the heels of me kind of painting a bad picture of the PFL, I would like, or not a bad picture, but kind of saying my piece about what happened. I would like to say like their format is cool and is a promotion. I've heard a lot of good things. Never had the opportunity or the pleasure of being in an event or fighting for them, obviously. But that said, like I really like what they do. I really like that tournament format. I really like that, like you have to beat good guys to rise your way to the top and and win. But like it would be a thing where if they could make the most total sense for the fighters, as long in conjunction with the promotion itself. It'd be really cool to see what happens, even though if I'm being honest with you, I would miss the Bellator staff. I've really grown close to them over the years,
Yeah, no, I'm excited by the possibility, but more intrigued because I would like to see what happens to, like you said, the staff, but also is it a middle of the year tournament style and then events everywhere else? Like, because Bellator puts on more events than I believe PFL does, or they're kind of, right near each other. So, but I would like a long, not events every weekend because we have another promotion that does that, but a few more events per year. It's more opportunities. And listen, not for nothing, if that were to merge, Francis Ngannou, he is a heavyweight. He does have a deal that handsomely pays his future opponent inside the PFL. And I consider you a friend, Steve Mowry, so I wouldn't mind seeing that fight.
Wouldn't mind a few handsome paydays. That's for.
Well, let's stop talking hypothetical. Let's talk Valentin Moldavsky. We have already a little bit, but what are you expecting to showcase in that fight. Obviously, it's a performance that you want to be happy and proud of, and show kind of the fruits of your labor. You said that, but what do you expect in this fight, and how do you expect it to go?
I don't really get bogged down in the technical minutia of a fight as so much as I do like I try to paint with the broad strokes of like, okay, well, I want to be the better striker, the better wrestler, the better grappler, the better blah blah blah. I want to have better cardio. One thing I've noticed particularly about him is that he comes forward and fights with a lot of volume. He comes forward and fights with a lot of speed, and that really kind of bridges the gap that comes with being at a size discrepancy with other heavyweights. So I'm looking forward to getting in there with him, slowing him down, and being the bigger, stronger dude.
Well, thankfully, I don't have like a standing tripod camera, and I won't have a microphone unless Bellator plays a prank on me, and I've got to stand next to you to do a interview, because that would be the most embarrassing. I don't think I could reach. So I like doing these interviews over Zoom.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I'm excited to see you in South Dakota, man. I'm excited for you to get back into the cage. If everything goes according to plan for you, are you good on 2023 and you're just looking to 2024?
Well, in a perfect situation, I get a nice big paycheck and I come out with no injuries, and we'll start talking about the future from there. But until then, I'm gonna deal with August 11th, and then I'm gonna drink a couple cold beers.
All right. Well, I can't wait for it. August 11th, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm not sure what else there is to do in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So Bellator is putting on a crazy card, including Steve Mowry and Valentin Moldavsky. Steve, thank you so much for the time. And I didn't get any credit for wearing the Pittsburgh Pirates hat. I was a little upset by that.
I noticed it at first. The first thing I was going to point out, but we hit the ground running with this thing. I didn't have time.
Yeah. I was like, well, last time I felt like I was pretty much threatened. So I'm going to try and buy some like Pittsburgh gear and make sure I have some come fight week.
I have my black and gold Jordans on. So, we'll be matching while I'm out there.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for always being so gracious towards me, and really excited to see you back in the cage.
Absolutely, man. I'll see you here in a couple weeks.
All right. Thank you.
Later.